Hey, it's Winter with the Shift Spotlight podcast, and today we're here with Richard Gearhart. Love your name, Richard. That's my dad's name.
What,
Great.
Richard or Gearhart?
Well, Richard Gearhart is definitely unique in itself, and he can be found at gearhartlaw.com. So, welcome to the show.
Great to be here, Winter. So happy to be on the shift spot.
Awesome. All right. So before we get going, why don't you tell us a fun fact about yourself that maybe a lot of people don't know about you?
I love cars. I've loved cars ever since I was a kid. I'm a car nut. And you get me in a lot full of antique sports cars, and I just go crazy. So
Yeah.
that's really something that not a lot of people know, but it's definitely an important part of me. So
Gotcha. Well, there we go with the similarities with my dad again. He sold cars for a living. So I grew up on a car lot, and
oh,
literally on the weekends, when we were with him, I would sit on the floor and just listen to him sell cars all day. So so when we were kids, we'd go visit him and we'd go to the car lot and he'd be like, "All right, pick out the car you want." So it was always fun because I got to drive a lot of different
wow.
cars growing up. Yeah.
So you know how to close, right?
Oh yeah, yep, I do. It was not something that I had to hone or learn or anything. It was very much ingrained in me from little girl. So I have four brothers too, and they all sell cars. So we are a car family. So I feel you there.
All right.
All right. So okay, at a high level, why don't you tell our listeners what it is that you do?
Well, at a very high level, I'm an intellectual property attorney. And so my job is to protect people's ideas. And that can be anything from inventions, and we protect those in the form of patents. We protect company brands. We do that in the form of trademarks. And then there's creative works of expressions that we protect with copyrights. And those are movies, books, songs, literature, anything like that. So we work with clients to try to help protect their ideas. And that's
All right. So I just need to clear something up right away because I've heard a million things about this, that if you write copyright C circle at the end of something that you write, that it is copyrighted. Is that true or false?
Pretty much true. Once
Wow.
a creative work, it has to satisfy the definition of copyright. So there has to
Right.
be some element of creativity. But once it's reduced to a tangible form, then you automatically get copyright protection for it. So that is true. You don't even have to use the notice anymore.
Interesting.
Now, there are benefits to registering the copyright with the Copyright Office, the
Hmm.
Library of Congress. It's very easy and straightforward to do, but you don't have to do it. It becomes a copyright as a matter of law. So,
Gotcha. Interesting.
yeah.
Tell us a story, and you don't have to mention names or businesses or anything, about a client who should have contacted you but didn't, and something happened because of it. So like an example of somebody who should have contacted you before things got sticky or before they found themselves in an oopsie situation.
I mean, really, we have that kind of situation that comes up, unfortunately, pretty frequently. And it's not unusual for a business owner at some point to get a cease and desist letter if they
Hmm.
haven't done the proper research for their products or for their brand.
Right.
So I could spend the whole day telling stories
Yeah.
about that. Um, I can think of one particular example where a company, it was a biotechnology company, went and they filed their own trademark, and they didn't do any research to find out if anybody had similar trademarks. Well, five
Right.
years later, a company in Belgium who had potentially a similar name, not exactly the name, came out of the woodwork and just said, well, sorry, we want you to stop using your name. And
Right.
this company had been in business for 5 or 6 years. They'd invested a lot in their brand and their marketing. And there is a big legal battle going on right now. And they're spending lots of money on litigation fees. And I think if they had looked at it a little bit more closely at the beginning, some of this could have been avoided.
Right.
So,
Absolutely. Why did you decide to get into this versus, real estate law, corporate litigation? Why IP? What was it that attracted you to it?
well, I have a technical background. I have a science background. And so I wanted to do the law thing, but also do the science thing at the same time. And so in order to be an intellectual property attorney, especially to work on patents, you have to have some technical training. And
Right.
so I kind of started off thinking, well, I like the science, I like the law. Let me see if I could combine those two things. And it turned out after a very short period of time when I first started that I was pretty good at it. And I really liked it. And
Mm.
I've been doing it now for 35 years.
Yeah.
And I still enjoy learning. I learn something new almost every day in the
That's
practice.
cool.
So
Yeah.
yeah, so it's kind of something that I just sort of fell into without really knowing that much about. But it
Right.
turns out that it became a passion of mine. So
Awesome. Okay.
yeah.
All right. Let's shift gears. Let's talk about your company. So, what's your annual revenue?
Our annual revenue is about $4 million a year.
Okay. And how many
And which
employees
is
do you have?
for an intellectual property practice. It's a boutique firm. We have about 25 people.
Okay.
Um, we have uh, we have colleagues, employees, team members
Yep.
located all over the country. We're very virtual. We even have people who work in different countries. So we have finance people in Philippines, and we have one of my partners is in Israel, and so we have people in North Carolina, and we're headquartered in New Jersey, but we have a couple people here in New Jersey, somebody else in New York, so we're really kind of split up all over the place.
Yeah, you're global. You're global. So then full-time employees, I think I saw 10. Is that right?
Well, actually, it's probably more than that. It's probably closer to 25.
Okay.
So
All right. So then you're the founder, you started this company. So I'm assuming that as you've scaled your business, you've had some challenges along the way and that have taken you by surprise. Give us an example of a challenge that you were not prepared for growing your business and how you handled it.
I think in some ways I was probably a little naive. I was very, I tend to have a trusting personality. And so
Mm-hmm.
and I would never say that I could do something if I didn't really think I could do it or I had not done it. And I had hired some people earlier in the practice on the financial side who said, oh, we know how to do this accounting. And it turned out that they sort of knew the accounting, but they didn't really know it in the way that they needed to know it.
Yep.
And I sort of blindly kind of went along with them for a while. And eventually I figured out that everything was really getting messed up.
Yeah.
And the clients were coming back and complaining. And so I had to make some tough decisions. We had to reorganize. But eventually we got everything right. But there were some days when I was very concerned about what was going to happen.
Yeah.
And what I realized is that you really have to dig down when you're working with teams of people to make sure that they're really doing what you need them to do. And probably part of it was that I'm not an accountant, so I'm not really sure I knew what needed to be done. So part of it could have been my fault too, in that I didn't give enough direction. On the other hand, I did kind of hire these people for their expertise.
Mm-hmm.
And and I was relying on that. So maybe they were relying on me and I was relying on them. And in between, everything kind of got messed up. But it managed to eventually work itself out. But there were times when I was very concerned. So.
Yeah. Did that make you lose your trust in people, and delegation? Because as a visionary, as a leader, if you're not delegating, then you bought yourself a job. You're just over broke, and you're doing it all yourself. And I know in the beginning, when you start out, you kind of do those things, but as you grow, you have to delegate, or you cannot scale. You have to delegate, especially if you've got a team of that many people. Did that change your trust in people, or did it help you get better skills on how to hire better?
I would say, Winter, that both of those were the case.
Mm-hmm.
It became clearer to me that I had to pay more attention to what was going on, and really kind of, I wouldn't say hold people's feet to the fire, but not be scared to ask them to justify what they were doing and how they were doing it.
Yeah.
And I used to kind of think, well, people wouldn't like me if I pushed too hard and made them kind of show their work, right?
Right.
And now I don't care about that. I'm like,
Right.
you're going to be here. You need to demonstrate what you're doing, all right? Because the consequences of that are bad for everybody, not just you and me. And if I know what's going on, and if there's an issue, then I can fix it. The problem was that sometimes there were issues, and I'm not even sure that people knew they were issues.
Right.
But knowing about it gives me a chance to fix it. And then, we can change course together. We can work out a solution, and going forward, everything can be cool. But if
Yeah.
there's not that communication and understanding there, and I really wanted to do other things. I didn't really want to dig down into the financial piece, but that's what I ended up doing.
Yeah. And that's sometimes what you have to do. I mean, Ken and I always say that companies break for two reasons, and it's process or people. And finances is one of those things where, it's like not a lot of people like dealing with it. But if you have a process and how the finances are going to run, then you don't have to necessarily be so entrenched in it. I'll give you an example for me. When I was first starting out in real estate and I was doing my own books. Well, no, first I was the CPA was doing my books, and then I was just getting, P&Ls at the end of the year, and taxes were going out, and I didn't like fully understand it. And I really got invested in understanding taxes, because it's not what you make, it's what you keep. So
Right.
After diving into it really deep, I realized like they were classifying all my Amazon purchases as business gifts. Well, as a business gift, you can only write $25. When I really started looking at it, most of them were supplies. Some of them were what I call, client retention, which is quote unquote advertising. And those are 100% deductible. So when I took control of my books and started classifying these things right, my write-offs, legal write-offs, went through the roof. But it's because, I was I had a process. All right, as much as I don't want to do the books, I have a process now. I need to handle this side of it. Then from there, the taxes become a lot easier, right? So I get it. Finance is one of those things a lot of CEOs don't want to deal with it. But we're in a weird time in this economy, in this world. What are the top things, either positive or negative right now, that are impacting your company, your industry in general?
One of the nice things about being an intellectual property field is that the demand usually outstrips the supply of people who are trained to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And so in general, we've been pretty immune to, the upturns and downturns of the economy.
Right.
And so, but I do think that I'm starting to notice some changes in the commercial landscape. I think people are slowing down their decision making a little bit.
Yes.
And we're noticing that clients aren't committing as quickly as they used to new projects.
Right.
And so, I think just paying attention to that trend is going to be important for us, and then really making adjustments. So we've been talking about this a bit at our management meetings, trying to understand kind of how the workflow is going. You know, our business, like any other business, has cycles. So
Yeah.
one month, our invoices may be super high, or they may be super low, or not super low, but lower. We
Yeah.
may have other months where we get a lot of new work, and then other months where we get less new work. And so, it's always all these, spinning plates all the time, right? And you want to keep attentive to saying, well, okay, the cash flow is good this month. So how are we going to handle that? We're going to reserve some for the coming months. Invoicing is a little slow this month. So what can we do to get some more invoices out, right? And so you're kind of constantly paying attention to all of these factors and trying to address the ones that are a little bit slower, and then also trying to stay on top of and take advantage of the trends that are good, right? And
Right.
so the most recent one we've noticed is the clients are a little bit where they're asking for information about new projects. They're just slower signing up. So we're trying to spend some time thinking of ways that we can address that. So
I'm seeing that in a lot of industries, and a lot of the CEOs and business owners right now that we're talking to are all experiencing the same thing. They're fast to meet with, they're slow to pull the trigger on. And I think everybody's watching their dollars and cents right now more than ever. Your value proposition, what you offer, what you bring to the table is going to matter. And then I'm even seeing, just on the employee side of things and within the company, morale and just like mindset. Right now, that's what we're focused on with our team, is just helping everybody understand that life in general, but especially now, and especially over the next 18 months, in my opinion, because election years are always weird in the businesses I primarily work with. And it's just, you don't need to be great at sales right now, as long as you've got the mindset to weather the storm, and you don't have to have like full job satisfaction, as long as you have morale within the company to help people still want to get up and do their jobs. So I think that those two things are going to be really key for companies over the next couple of years, because I keep hearing, well, what is it? What's wrong with me? What's wrong with this? You are going to have to revise your process right now. Like I said, process and people break companies. If you don't have the right process in place for a slower buying cycle, you've got to revise your process, right?
Right. Well, I couldn't agree with you more. I mean, as an intellectual property law firm, we have over 4,000 clients, and we deal with maybe 300 to 400 projects per month, where somebody may have a trademark, another person has a trademark search, another person has a patent search. We may have litigation. We may have court acts. We have oppositions at the trademark office. We have all of these little projects, and sometimes they're just 3 or 4 hour projects, but they're all heavily scheduled. So we'll receive some correspondence from the patent and trademark office, for example, and then we have a certain time limit to respond to it. So we have to look at it. We have to get it to the client. We have to get the client input. They have to decide what they're going to do, whether they're going to go forward with it. Then we have to get payment. Then, so the accounting. And so we have a lot of processes in our firm to kind of stay on top of all of these different, projects. And we have fairly complex software that allows us to track and maintain deadlines, and follow up with clients if it turns out that we haven't heard back from them within the required time periods, so their rights don't get lost. And it's a very process-oriented business, and we handle lots of small projects at a high volume. So process is absolutely key for us.
Yeah. So where do you see yourself going in the next 2 to 5 years? What's the future vision?
Well, I'm probably retiring at some point. I'm 63 years old, so it pains me to say that, but at some point I'm going to have to consider pulling the trigger. The nice thing about having having this firm is that I get to work until I want to, or I
Right.
start screwing up so much that they
That you
force
need an
me out,
attorney.
they
You
drag
start
me out the
screwing up
door.
so much that you need your own attorney.
Um, so that's one of the things. I'm right now, it's like I'm trying to prepare the firm to kind of hand it off to the team
Yeah.
that we've got. And so that's one of my objectives. I mean, we still have, I don't get so involved in the day-to-day projects. I still am involved in the litigation. If a client has a big transaction, I'll get involved in that. I've been trying to be out in the community more. My wife and I have a radio show called Passage to Profit. That is syndicated now on 27 stations across the country. And so maybe doing more with that would be an option for me. I'm also on the board of several companies. And so maybe taking more of an advisory role.
Yes.
As I dance off into the sunset, you know.
Nice.
So.
The American dream, isn't that what we all are, trying to get to when we grow up? Okay, well, if you had to do it all over again, speaking to your younger self or less experienced self, what would your advice be to you?
I mean, I've done a lot of things right. I think probably my challenges are more around probably being a little bit too much of a people pleaser.
Yeah.
And kind of sticking more with the logic of the business rather than being overly empathetic with situations. And sometimes, especially early on, I think I let my heart rule more often than my head. And I'm not sure that was really in my best interest, but those are things that I'm over the time we get more experience. And, you realize that you really do kind of have to be tough sometimes.
Yeah.
In order for things to work out right. So,
yeah, that's good. I do think there is that human need for people, especially in leadership roles, to want to be liked. And I think it's a common struggle because a lot of times we hire people because we like them or they're like us, or, we think they're going to be a good fit for the vibe of the office. But at the end of the day, the most successful companies are the ones where you hire the people that get it done, not the ones that are always the best fit for your personality type, right?
Yeah, I mean, I've definitely had to learn how to be flexible and, really just seeing people as, individuals, that everyone's different. Everyone has their strengths and their weaknesses. And I have to adjust my behavior to make, kind of meet them where they're at. Right. And they have to adjust a little bit to meet me where I'm at too. But, making sure that, and our team has been together now for a long time, which is really great because it's like we know each other so well. I mean, we can finish each other's sentences and we know what's going to happen next, or everybody knows how so-and-so is going to react when they hear this. And I think, it's great. I really like that. It makes the business easier for me. So,
yeah.
So.
Awesome. Okay. Well, if people wanted to reach you, what would be the best way to have that happen?
Well, you can reach me at our website, www.gearhartlaw.com. And we do.
Let me just interject that Gearhart is spelled Gearhart.
Yes, it's Gearhart, like you just said, .com. You can reach us through our website. Or if you want to reach out and have a chat, our number is 908-273-0700. And, we help all sorts of businesses with their intellectual property issues. And, we've been doing it a long time, and I think we do a pretty good job of it. So I certainly welcome any contacts from your audience. So.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. We appreciate you sharing your stories, and wish you all the best in what is to come for not only Gearhart Law, but you as well.
Well, thank you very much, Winter. It's been a real pleasure spending time with you, and thank you for the opportunity to share. It's been great.
Awesome.